All right, today we're going to look at GPX files. What are they? How do we use them? And how do we use them? No. How do they work and how do we use them on our motorcycle adventures? All right, let's take a look. Firstly, what is a GPX file? Well, essentially, it's basically a file format that records a GPS coordinate as we move through time. GPX stands for GPS Exchange Format, which essentially it's creating a format that you can then exchange with other people. It also allows you to create waypoints, obviously for points of interest, and also it creates a route. So there's three separate elements that you'll find in a GPX file: track, route, and waypoints. So GPX has two purposes. One is to record a path that we've been on and then guide us on a route that we are following. Once you've recorded a GPX file, you can also export it to visualize the trip that you've been on. You can use Relive or Google Earth Studio, etc., to be able to create a 3D render of the track that you've followed. And of course, the other place we use it is to plan trips. So we will then create, rather than following a path necessarily that someone else has done, we're going to create a virtual version of a path so that we can then follow it. When it comes to navigation, really there's a couple of different types of navigation you can follow. One is live real-time navigation like Google Maps, which is saying I want to go to destination, and then it constantly works out the best path to follow based on traffic and lots of other information, whether you've told it to avoid freeways or tolls and all that sort of stuff. But it is effectively working out, you know, the trip live as you're going through it. Now, generally when we use a GPX file, it's actually the opposite. We're setting a path because we want to follow that specific path. We don't want it to work it out live as we're going through. We want to follow a specific path. The thing about a GPX file, of course, is that it is just a set coordinates. It's not necessarily a line from A to B. What's stored in the file is effectively coordinate A, coordinate B. And then whatever you're reading the GPX file with will draw the line between point A and point B. Now, when it draws that line, if it has the ability to be able to snap to roads or snap to a path, then it will work out a more accurate path rather than by the crow flies. And that's where navigation systems can utilize GPX files and give us an accurate navigation along a certain path. Sometimes that path, of course, when we're doing adventure riding, sometimes that path is not there at all and we're following just point to point. In which case, you know, depending on which software you're using, we're currently using more waypoints than we are GPS coordinates. However, we can still follow a route, it just may not be snapping to a particular path. Now, in this example, we're going to have a look at, I've started using GaiaMaps, I don't know how it's pronounced, but anyway, been using GaiaMaps a bit recently. I used to use Google Maps. I used to create a Google map, but then of course you had to save it in a KML file. A KML file is Google's version of a GPX file, whatevs, but it's pretty much, it does slightly different things, but it uses an XML format as well, but slightly difference between a Holden and a Ford. Mercedes-Benz and a BMW. for anyone who's you know older than 20. Of course, I then had to convert that KML file into a GPX file to be able to read it in my GPX in the navigator I was using. What we're going to do today is create a GPX file. Then we can export that file and we can send it to our phone, to our navigation apps, navigation devices. You know, any navigation device should be able to read a GPX file. All right, we're going to start by creating a new folder. Let's go old pack to wall on by. Save that. So we're going to go new route. Now, first thing we need to do is change this to driving to make sure it follows the right path. Follow in our meet point, say we're meeting at 7-Eleven here, and then we'll zoom out. Now there's a couple of different ways we can do this. We can go all the way up to our destination, Wallenby Tavern, and we can just plot that in there, and it's going to find the route to it. So there, it's snapped to the roads. So it initially creates a straight path and then it snaps to the roads. So it's created that. Now, of course, it's going to by default follow the highway. We don't want to follow the highway because highways are boring. So we want it instead to follow the old pack. So we're going to then grab this bit and we're going to drag it over to here. That's going to snap to that road instead. So here we are. Again, it's done the same up here from Barawa. We don't want to do that. We want to go the old road again for that section. So there we go. So now, rather than it just following the route, now we also want to go the best part of old pack. So we're going to snap to that road too. And there we have it. So now it's going through there. Now again, I'm missing the top part. We want the top part. This is the best bit. Snap to that road. There we go. All right, so that's following all of old pack. Now again, it's jumping back on the freeway again up here. It's just following what is the shortest path. So we're going to select Wiseman's Ferry Road there, and it's going to follow that one instead. Even along here, we can choose to follow Wiseman's Ferry Road again there. And then the rest of it, it's going to follow the path that we want. So that is our path, right? So now we hit save, saves our route. We can see it there. That's our path there. Let's give it a name. Old pack to Wollombi. Save. Right, so this is storing it in GaiaMaps. Now, REVER will do the exact same thing. So you can do this exact same process with REVER. I find personally REVER to be a bit of a pain in the ass. It's not anywhere near as easy as that. It's a lot more complicated. And the way that it does waypoints, does the points along the way, I find that so confusing. It's just so difficult. I don't know why. But obviously they need to spend some money on UI and UX because it's just terrible. Anyway, once we've got that set, we can hit edit, and you can see we've got our little dots there. So you can zoom in and you can still edit the path again. So if you wanted to take a slightly different route again, we can continue to edit that file and then hit save. That saves our path. Now, what do we do from here? We go export as GPX file. Now, this creates a GPX file. So let's take a look at what actually is in here. All right, so I'm now opening this up in a GPX editor, which is another piece of software that you can buy. Don't buy, just download it, it's free. I'll sell it to you. Now, you can see there it's created that path, and we have a look in here. It's actually in there as a route, not as a track. Let's look at the raw file. This is exactly what a JSON file looks like. The definitions at the top just tell the system, whatever system is reading this file, what it is, how it's structured. And then in here, we've got what is a route. So then the route within the JSON file has the coordinates. And it also can specify time as well, so it gives you a bit of an indication of pace and speed and stuff like that. But that's essentially the whole file is exactly all those GPX points. Now, it has created it as a route. Now, depending on the software you're using, some softwares prefer to read routes, some prefer to read tracks. So if you're using open source map, a software called OSMAnd, or it depends on how you pronounce it, but it's kind of an acronym. It means open source map for Android, but there's an iOS version as well. So calling it open source map for Android doesn't make sense on an iOS device, but it's called OSMAnd or OSMAnd, depends on how you want to pronounce it. But it most definitely prefers to read tracks, not routes. The problem with the routes, when it's trying to read the routes, it reads all those individual points along the route, and then it tries to draw a GPS. It tries to work out the navigation between all those points. So you can see in here we've got 2,652 points. So it's trying to navigate between 2,600 points, which takes forever for it to work it out, which is quite obvious. So instead, what we want to do is actually convert that into a track. So I'm just going to go up here and go convert routes to track, convert, and there it has it in there as a track instead. Now it actually keeps the route in there, by the way, But for this particular software for OSMAnd, we want tracks, not routes. So now if I save that, go to the raw, you can see we've now got tracks in here. So about halfway down, I'll convert to tracks. So that's our tracks. So we still keep our route. So you can see there, that extension means route. And then about halfway down, essentially everything's inside a tag. So that's the end of the route, start of the track. So the track starts there, and then we have our track file. Now, depending on the software, again, which way everyone wants to read, you can choose which one. So, but I just know with OSMAnd, it prefers tracks. So you do need to convert it if you want to use it. If you don't want it to take forever. If you upload a tracks file into OSMAnd, it'll convert it in an instant. If you upload a routes file, it'll take forever. So, however, now that I've got it stored, I've got the route stored in GaiaMaps, it means that I can access that whenever I want. Now I can then also follow that via the GaiaMaps application in iOS. I have found, for me personally, on the 12, I don't know if there's a problem on this particular one, with the 12 Max, it is really slow and it crashes. Now, the thing about GaiaMaps, just to quickly show you, you can then choose different types of maps, which makes it really cool. So we can select a topo map, so we can get a topographical view of that, that route if we want to use that. But again, this is the whole point of this, is to just store the GPX and create the GPX file, and then we can follow it. Of course, you can then use that to import it into different things. So let's bring over REVER. So if we go into REVER and go upload on our file, drop that in there, and there we have it. So it's actually converted that file, and it's read it, but it's created a whole bunch of different things. It's created its own waypoints for some reason. Let's have a look in here. Yeah, okay, so it's created waypoints at whatever range it wanted. Maybe that's, it's not where I put there's a couple of points. I think those points are probably where we selected something, and that one definitely was, but then we didn't select anything from there. So all these ones, it's added itself. Interesting. We can then save that away. Now, the other thing I haven't mentioned yet, of course, is waypoints. So if we go back to here, thing with GaiaMaps compared to, I'm just going to turn the topo off for a second because it's just hard to read. I like the street map one, actually. That one's nice and clear. All right. So say in here, we've set our path. Now, we may also want to record waypoints as well. With GaiaMaps, the way it works is we actually want to record the waypoints separately. And so we just go waypoint, save that there. We go start. We can even put a petrol station icon on there, save that. All right, so that puts that one in there. And then say we want a waypoint at the end as well. Here's the thing, if you're following a route, you actually don't need waypoints, but some like it. Cookie, because it's food. All right, now I've placed it there. I've placed it in the wrong spot, so I need to hit edit, move it to where I want it, and then hit save. Just say, for example, you want to set a waypoint when we're at the end of, to remind us to turn left. So we can plonk that there. You can even say turn left if we want to. This is just, this is more for straight line stuff. If you're going from point to point, you'd probably use something like this to tell you to turn left, turn right, etc. So we'll save that away. I think I've got this folder. The reason why that's happening, I've got the folder set to not visible on the main map, which is why it's doing that. It's setting it to invisible. So let's go waypoint here. I'm going to put a last waypoint here at pie in the sky for another food option. Where's a coffee cup? I'm going to set that. There we go. So that's making it visible straight away. Okay. Now the way GaiaMaps works is that's now created. We've got our route, and then we've got our waypoints separately. All right, so there we have our route there. Now we want to, previously we exported just the route. In this one, we're going to export the waypoints with the route. So let's take a look at that. Let's go down to here, go to folders. There's our folder there. And if we scroll down, it'll give us distance, and we've got our route and we've got our 4 waypoints. And so from here, we're going to go data, export GPX. That opens up that one. How does this one look in our by comparison? Okay, so we've got there, and you can see our waypoints are listed on here as well. So we've got those listed, we've got our route, and of course this is re-downloaded it, so our track's no longer there. So if we do want to send this to a device that prefers tracks rather than routes, we just go convert routes to tracks, convert, and then hit save, and there we have it. So you can then, if you want to, you can just delete the route too and just save it as the track. And we've got here, we can give it a name, old pack 2 Wollombi. There's all our tracks. Now you can see this in the tracks that it has the markers for distances. So if the device can work out, if it knows what the speed limit is on particular sections, then it can work out how long it'll take to pass that amount of distance. Or OSMAnd, for example, uses an average speed based on what you put in for your method of travel. So you can set up, and I think it has a default of car, but you can set it to instead take. All right, so looking at OSMAnd here, we've got our path. So I've got this set to car navigation. Now if you go to settings and then profile, that's the word I was looking for, and then navigation settings, and then vehicle parameters, and then default speed, I know it's a long way in, you can set the average speed. Now it will then calculate the time based on that, your ETA, etc. So it's a long way into it, but you can also create a separate profile. So I've got a profile set up as motorcycle, so then you can set a few other little differences in there, and I actually set one for motorcycle in the country versus motorcycle in the city, because in the city I'm doing an average of 40 k's an hour, whereas out on the roads we might be doing an average of 80, 90 kilometers an hour depending on where it is. So, so you can set up different profiles, and that's how it'll work out its ETA based on the points in between that. Now, how do we share it? So we've got this file sitting here. I'm going to go to there. I'm going to go right click, share, airdrop, send it to my phone, boom. Phone picks it up. I want to open it in OSMAnd apps. It opens it up, right? So there it is straight away. There's our path. It's following it. It's got the waypoints listed out. And then if I go navigation and hit start, now that took a little bit longer for a second there because I'm not at the start. So it actually had to navigate to the start and then from there, but you can see that's a hell of a lot quicker than what it does when it tries to calculate the whole thing. So obviously 146 is based on the, what did we have in there? It was a total of 111. So it means it's 30 odd Ks to get to the start of this route, and then it navigates from there. So that's a really cool option. Now OSMAnd, I've also noticed that when it's recording its GPX information, it actually records heading as well, whereas a lot of apps don't do that. So that's another one. All right, hope that helps give you a little more guidance on your trips. And GPX Files is a very easy way to both plan your trips, but it'll also guide you along the way, as well as sharing with friends. Give us a like if that helps. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.